This is a wear review update of the changes we made to the most expensive boot I've ever bought, the rarest boot I've ever purchased. And we did this little project on the Anvil Builds channel. So if you haven't seen that, that's the context of this entire video. So go watch that. So what is this boot? Well, this is a super collaboration with two of the biggest names in the boot world in Viberg, who is known for making some of the best boots in the entire world. There's a lot of people who think Viberg just do it better than anybody else. And the other half of the collaboration is the Horween tannery themselves from Nick Horween, who makes arguably the best leather in the entire world in shell Cordovan. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you why it's so magical and why I like it so much, because as you can see right now, these are pretty dirty, they're pretty beat up, and not crazy beat up, but they're definitely worn. And at the end of the video, I'm gonna show you how fast and how easy these return back to a near mirror finish with like almost no work. Cordovan's really cool. If you ever wondered why in the world is my wireless bill so dang high, then let me tell you about Mint Mobile, who I'm partnering with for today's video. And you might already know Mint Mobile if you've seen those funny ads from Ryan Reynolds, who is also an owner. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell directly online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. And why should you have to pay more than you have to access the same network? Well, click the link in my description or scan the QR code here if you are interested in the best value in wireless. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning fast 5G and a free mobile hotspot. Mint also uses Modern Family Plan that allows you to set up a super affordable family plan with as few as 2 lines. And switching to Mint is super easy thanks to their digital eSIM cards that you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your own home. And if your phone doesn't accept eSIM cards, Mint will ship you a new SIM card for free. And it's seriously that easy to switch. And usually you would have to go to the wireless store, wait in line, go through all the rigmarole, and getting a new SIM card, making an awkward small talk with salespeople, trying to sell you on random junk. It's just terrible. And it only takes about 15 minutes to switch, and Mint has a great customer service policy if you ever need help. And as a special limited time offer, you can get unlimited plan, which is normally $30 a month for just $15 a month. That's a $15 savings off their already super low prices. So use the link in my description or scan the QR code on screen to check it out. And thanks again to Mint Mobile for sponsoring this video and helping this channel out. And these started off as engineer boots. There are 2 issues I had with this boot that we were trying to fix through that Anvil Builds video. The first issue was I tried my best to be an engineer boot guy with the big buckles on it and the kind of like the more gaudy styling, but I'm just not that guy. And it's not even a critique on engineer boots. It's more of a critique on my personal comfort level with style. I just, I don't know. I just kind of felt like a heritage pirate, It just wasn't my style. And so I wanted to turn it more into a roper style that's a lot closer to my style, a little more Western style, something I can wear every day. And because what it does is it kind of dresses it down rather than dressing it up like an engineer boot. Because to me, engineer boots are like dressier for whatever reason. They seem like they're a lot nicer versus a roper boot is kind of a more casual slip-on boot. Keep it at the back door. Is this a $2,000 back door boot? It's not what it's intended for, but that's kind of what it ended up as. And so that's what we tried to fix, is make it from an engineer boot down to a roper style boot. But the problem with the roper style boot is because it's a full slip-on, the shaft and the collar of the boot has to be pretty big in order for your foot to get in. And so that's where this video got really interesting. And we'll kind of go over that in a sec. But the second issue was they were just really loose around my foot. And when I first got them, we had to punch a new hole in this front strap, and that tightened down quite a bit. I had an idea that I thought was really gonna fix both those issues in one fix. So what did we actually do to this boot? Well, the biggest thing was just removing the buckles. So the way we did that is Taylor basically cut the stitches, pulled out the straps, and that left that big flap open, and then he hand sewed those layers back together with basically matching thread that you cannot even notice the difference from one side to the other, or even like a stitch line to stitch line, unless you really know what you're looking for and you're really, really close. It turned out really nice. The second thing, now that that top buckle is removed, we had a big open hole in the boot to where we were thinking about sewing it shut or doing something to really close that up. But the problem is you need some movement to be able to get your foot in there. And then the nice thing about engineer boots is they cinch back down around your foot and around your calf, so you get a really slim shaft of the boot. And so instead of sewing it shut, what we decided to do was install some elastic, which, you know, elastic is not a great material. We've talked plenty of trash on elastic because it does wear out. It's literally just, you know, thread with interwoven elastic rubber threads throughout it. So over time, those teeny little elastic threads start to break, they start to stretch out, and then the next thing you know, your $2,000 boots that's relying on a little strand of elastic doesn't work anymore. But the beautiful thing of what we did, and the thing that I really, really liked about this, is we were able to save the value of elastic and that stretchability while still maintaining the longevity of a traditionally made boot by these little triangles right here. So these triangles, they are hand sewn on. So the idea is that instead of machine sewing on the elastic and then having to unstitch it and everything every time you need to replace it, if we actually made this in production, which is, it's not even my boot, but like if we did something like this, I'd probably make a bunch of those little elastic strips and seal them up and send them with the boots. So as soon as you wear out that elastic, all you have to do is pop those stitches, because they're big hand-sewn stitches, so you're not gonna ruin anything, and pull the elastic off, and then just hand sew back on the new elastic. And you don't need a sewing machine. All you need is a needle and two needles and one thread, saddle stitch it on there, and you have essentially what is a consumable bit of the boot that's easy to replace at any time. And it's a really affordable way to do it. You don't have to take it to cobbler, you just do it yourself. So I really like that idea. I thought it was a really fun way of solving this issue that we always run into of traditional, heavy duty, hardworking, like it's gonna last forever, but they're not the most comfortable things, they're not the most versatile things, versus the more easy to use, synthetic materials, they're more comfortable, easier to put on. So we essentially combine the two in what I think is a really smart way. And you might be thinking, okay, well, I see what you did there, but that didn't help the issue of it not fitting around your instep, because I have skinny ankles, skinny feet, and so roper style boots, engineer boots, anything that's a slip on is just a gamble for me at the end of the day, because they rarely fit me. And so when we remove that strap, you are 100% correct in the comment section or those of you that commented, like, how did it didn't fix anything. Like, all you did is remove the strap. It's not gonna fit around your ankle any better. But here's the idea behind it. And this is it was another gamble. You know, it's a $2,000 boot that we took a gamble on, but I just knew that if they stayed as engineer boots, they would never get worn. But if I did pull off at least part of this, they would get worn a lot more. And so how did I solve the problem of the instep strap being removed from an engineer boot that gives it its tightening that basically did solve the problem I had with the looseness of this boot? Well, the idea was to train the Cordovan. As you probably know, leather generally takes its shape, it takes its form, and it holds it really well. That's why you can wet mold veg tan leather to hold a particular shape indefinitely, or within reason. And Cordovan does that as well. And so my thought was, if I could manually train this Cordovan to crumple and fold around my foot, as I wore this more and more, it would just kind of sink in, and so that the shaft of the boot would drop, and it would all those crumples would hold my foot in it better. And so the way that I did that, and you can see it's pretty clearly artificially trained, because if you did this just naturally, you'd have a lot different folds and wrinkles, and it wouldn't be as strategic. So the goal was to get this to kind of accordion down in a very efficient way, I guess is kind of what I'm trying to get at. So you can see there's a pinch point here, flares out, pinch point there, pinch point in the middle, mostly mirrored on the backside. And so you get this really nice effect of like a very strategically folded Cordovan that, like I said, at the end of the video, I'll show you how crazy this looks once it's actually shined up. But more importantly, with this very specific fold right there at the front, as that crumples down, it forces the instep leather in because it's pinched out on the corners here. And the hope was that it's gonna hold my foot in place. And the way I trained it was, maybe not the smartest way, to be honest. Like if I was recommending training Cordovan, I would not recommend it this way, just to be safe. But I just got the Cordovan wet and I just wet molded it. So I essentially dunked the top half in some water, got it nice and saturated, and then I just folded the leather just like this. Just pinched it, folded it, and that's terrible for Cordovan. You shouldn't do that to your Cordovan, and it can lead to a lot of issues, but it was what I wanted to do. It's my boots, and I wanted it to be trained really quick, and I have to wear so many boots so regularly. I just didn't want to spend the time like trying to slowly train it, and so I just wet molded it. And it worked really well. You can see it took that shape really, really well. And that was pretty much it. You know, not a lot of changes to the boot in actuality, but where it was a $2,000 boot, it was scary. And Taylor did the majority of the work, and he pulled it off perfectly. I think it turned out beautifully. So now that you know the fixes that were attempted, did it actually work? Did this fix those two issues? Well, number one, the styling. I love the look of these boots. I love this accordion look of the folding Cordovan. I've never seen anybody like do this on a pair of like ropers or engineers or anything where they've trained the leather to take a specific shape. So that worked. I love the look of these. I would wear these a ton if I had time to wear all of the boots that I have. And it's a lot more roper, a lot more Western. I could wear it a lot more comfortably. Being from a more Western town, it just is more natural to me than the engineers. So pass with flying colors on that one. We killed it. I think it turned out perfectly. And second issue, did it help with the instep slopping around and my heel slip? Not really, to be honest. Like it did help, but it's not more than the strap did, you know, and that's pretty obvious because it was a literal physical strap strapping your instep in that we removed. But to me, I was happy to take that sacrifice in the instep fit to get the look that I wanted. And so to me, it did work, but it's not better than a strap by any means. So I think it turned out really well. I think it turned out perfectly. But there were some issues because this is the very first time I've ever seen anyone do this to a boot. It's the very first time we tried it. And there's a couple issues, you know, like this little flap on the inside that was already on the boots when I got them. It folds in a little bit. You know, if I'm not paying attention, I throw these on, it'll fold in half and it'll be folded the wrong way. And it's already, like the leather's already trained to do that, unfortunately. So it's something I have to pay attention to, that's folded out and not in. The other issue was when I was training this, I did my darndest to try to get this flap right here to fold in rather than popping out. And I just can't get it to do it. It just wants to pop out. There's nothing I can do about it. Like this other side sometimes pops in the right way, you know, and I've thought about putting a tack in there, a little stitch tack or something, but I just haven't got around to it. So the problem with that is it opens up the boot to everything that it could be exposed to. You know, dirt gets in there, weeds get in there, anything can get in there. But the benefit of it, if we're really trying to put a positive spin on it, is that it does open up a little pathway for some airflow. So you could spin it in a positive light. And you can see actually right here, from the wet molding, I've kind of weakened the structure of the Cordovan. You can see how it's not rolling and folding like Cordovan's known to do. It's kind of wrinkling like regular leather. And I don't think that's the cut of the Cordovan. I think it's just the way I wet molded it. And you can see I've even like cracked the Cordovan a little bit right there. Whoops. But you don't know till you try. And honestly, I'm gonna use them as roper boots, so I'm not really that bothered by it. And it's, to me, you know, I can justify myself ruining a couple things here and there to inform you guys on what not to do. So that makes me feel a little bit better. As for the sizing still is not great because one of the boots feels about a half a size smaller. In full transparency, I'll take all the blame for it because I could have easily hit them up and be like, hey, I feel like this is half a size. Do you want me to ship these back when I first got them? But I didn't. And then we started modifying them and then I started wearing them and they've offered to relast them for 100% for free to hook me up with it. I just didn't want to do it because we were doing this video on it and I'm not convinced it's their fault. And so I just didn't want to do it. And then the other thing is like, I think it'd just be fun to relast this on the Rose Anvil Builds channel and add a little bit of flair to it. I have an idea of I think would be really cool that will allow me a little bit more wiggle room in the toes by adding another bit of design to the boot. I don't want to spoil it too much, but I think it's gonna be really cool. So once again, not blaming Viberg. This is not a critique on Viberg because they offered to set me up and get me fixed up above and beyond what I expected of them. So. And then overall, my impressions of this boot, I still love it. You know, it was the rarest boot I've ever got. It's one of 20. It was $2,000. I bought it for my 500,000 subscriber mark present for myself. And I don't know. I like both those brands. Like I said, they're the top of the heap when it comes to this industry. Horween is known across the world for what they do. Viberg is known across the world from what they do. And Viberg, if you don't know, we haven't covered them on the channel, we need to, but they basically started this whole trend of high quality, heavy duty boots that are actually wearable and brought back this service boot style that's so popular, that's been so popular over the last like 15 years. Brett Viberg is one of the founders of this whole trend. So it's a cool boot. It has a lot of meaning to me, and like I've said a bunch of times, the Horweens were really nice to me when I was a really small leather worker like 5 years ago. They treated me really well, so it always meant a lot to me that they treated me so well when they didn't have to. I wasn't like a big client. I was a nobody of note at the time, and they still treated me really well. And I've always really valued that, and it was a good character judge for me of them, and I just love them. So. And overall, they're beautiful boots. I think they turn out beautifully. I like this little triangle detail. I love them. I just don't wear them as much as I should because the one boot's just a little bit too small. So I was thinking about like wearing them down and then resoling them, but we might just do it. We might just resole them sooner rather than later, because we have all that new equipment for the Rose Anvil Builds channel, and we're slowly refining it, getting them dialed in, restoring them, and getting our feet wet with them, and really learning, especially Taylor. Taylor's been putting a lot of time and energy into those machines, so he's getting better and better at them. And one of those machines is a line finisher. And if you don't know what a line finisher is, it's basically a line of brushes and sanders that you can start with a rough boot, and by the end of the line, you've got a polished up boot. And to show you the magic of Cordovan, we're gonna shine one of these boots and then not shine the other, so you have a little bit of compare and contrast. And we'll show you the method over the next like minute or so while I sit here and watch it with you. I'm not gonna watch it with you. So first, I'm gonna take my old dirty horsehair brush. I'm just knocking off all the dust on here, because if you don't knock this off, it's gonna get into the sapphire or the Venetian and basically create a grit that's gonna sand the shine off of your boots, working against your attempt at making these super shiny. And like ideally you'd spend a little bit more time than this trying to get all this extra dirt off. You might even take like a really, really lightly damp rag and just get all the surface dirt off. Then either take Venetian or Renovateur is usually the most popular creams for Cordovan. And we'll just use Renovateur because it's a cooler name. And you don't have to drown it by any means, but you know, just grab some and smear it on and work it all the way through the leather, just so, because all leather needs conditioning anyway, especially Cordovan, because it's such a tight grain structure that it can crack if you're not really careful with it. So it doesn't hurt to add a little conditioner. Also adds a little bit of a slicking compound to make the brush really polish this up a lot better. So that's probably close enough, to be honest, like, at least for this scope of this video. You know, this just kind of goes to show you how easy and how fast it is to actually take care of Cordovan if you know what you're doing. And then the next step for the vast majority of people is grab your clean horsehair brush, which this is not, and you just buff the crap out of this thing. But we're fortunate to have bought a nice line finisher. It has this horsehair brush on it, and there's a black one, there's some burnishers here, and this basically simulates an hour worth of brushing in like 5 minutes. So all I'm gonna do is just bring this in here and just kind of work it around, you know, put in a little bit of pressure, but not a crazy amount. Try not to hit the Cordovan on any other spinning wheels, as I did right there. And you don't even have to really over brush it. Like, some people spend an ungodly amount of time brushing their boots. It really only takes the right application of conditioner and a little bit of elbow grease, and you're pretty good. So I'm gonna finish this up. We'll do a quick before and after, show you how crazy and how easy it is to actually shine this to a near mirror finish. As you can see, how much of a difference this makes. And the thing is, I've done this, I know what it's gonna look like because I've done it before with my other Cordovan boots. It's crazy how fast it shines, and now they're a mirror finish, which, to be honest, I don't really love because it makes them look way more dressy. But that's the beautiful thing about Cordovan. You can go take them for a little walk around, dirt gets on them, they get dirty again, and everyone just thinks they're a burgundy, like Packer boot that's a little bit worn in, scratched up a little bit, but underneath all that dirt and scratches is that brilliant, bright, shiny Cordovan that you can revive at any time. And that's the cool thing about Cordovan, is there's plenty of boots that you can find on the internet, or people found that were like 50 years old, sitting in a closet, threw a little bit of conditioner on it, buffed them up, and they look as good as they did when the day they were born, the day they were made. So that's pretty much everything. So let me know what you think. Did I ruin these? Did I save them? I think I saved them, and I just want to get them relasted and to get them fit really well. And let me know what else you guys want to see. If you like this style video, what other things you want to see on this channel. We've got some other wear-in reviews coming up. We've got the Aldens coming up. We've got the NDCs coming up. Both of those are Cordovan. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching. So if you're not subscribed, consider doing it. Support this wherever you can. It would mean a lot to me, and it allows me to get a little bit of extra enjoyment out of this job that I'm doing. But it is a dream job, so thank you guys. See ya. Back inside.